The Texas Longhorns have the chance to do something that's never been done before in this year's NFL draft. Are the Horns about to make history? We'll discuss on today's edition of the BK Show. What's up, guys and gals? Welcome in to another edition of the BK Show. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner. Hope everyone's having a great week so far, getting closer and closer to the weekend. That's never a bad thing. Please like this video if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. Just surpassed 700 subscribers. We're not even 2 weeks into this new channel. We're already over 700 subs. Can't thank y'all enough for the early love and support. This is your one-stop shop for all things Texas Longhorns content on YouTube. All right, you see the title? You heard the intro. Can Texas make history in April's NFL draft? The current record for the most players selected out of one school in a single 7-round NFL draft is 15. That was set by Georgia back in 2022. The current record for the most players selected out of one school in a 2-year span of 7-round NFL drafts is 25. That was also set by Georgia in 2022 and 2023. Could the Longhorns break either or both of those records here in 2025? I think they've got a shot. Remember, last year, Texas had 11 players drafted, meaning they would need 14 selected this year to tie Georgia's record for the most in a 2-year span. Of course, they need 15 to break Georgia's 2-year record. And if Texas does get to 15, that would tie the Bulldogs' single-season record that they set back in 2022. A lot of numbers there. Hopefully you're following. Of course, Texas does own the all-time record for the most players selected in one NFL draft. You got to go all the way back to 1984, where the Horns had 17 players selected. Now, the NFL draft was a lot longer back then. So Georgia has the record for the modern day, but Texas has the all-time record with 17 players picked in one single draft. The Longhorns hoping to have the all-time and the modern day record this year. It could happen. It really could. I mean, Texas has had a laundry list of players put their name in the draft over the last couple of days. Some guys had to leave Texas. Some guys are forgoing their remaining college eligibility to put their name in the NFL draft. But if you follow this football team, you've seen a bunch of Longhorn players release statements on social media over the last couple of days announcing that they are headed to the NFL draft. A lot of talented pieces as well will be leaving Texas. That's sad. And it's also sad that, Georgia was able to win it all in 2022 and 2023 when they were setting those records. Hate that Texas came so close in back-to-back years to winning the whole thing, but still, it'd be pretty awesome if Texas is able to match or break those UGA records, and it obviously shows you that Texas is in a very healthy spot as a program, and it shows you that they're actually developing talent, because for years, Texas wasn't doing that. Texas now is very much doing that, and that's why the Longhorns are a national force in college football once again. So we'll go down the list one by one, all of the players who have announced their intentions to enter the NFL draft. And I've kind of separated these players into 3 categories. We've got locks. Like there is a 100% chance these guys will hear their names called in April. We've got very close to locks, where it's 90+% that these guys hear their names called in April. And then we've got the borderline guys. Late day 3, UDFAs, they'll fall somewhere in that mix. Texas is going to need a couple of those guys to hear their names called if they want to tie or break Georgia's record. But here's the list that we've got. Here are the locks. Kelvin Banks, no question, going to be a top 10 pick. He'll be the first Longhorn off the board. Jahdae Barron, he's a lock. Feel very confident in him also going in the first round. Cam Williams, a lock. Hate that he's leaving Texas. Would have loved for him to return for one more season. Think he could have used another year of development. But go look at mock drafts. I mean, I think Cam Williams is going to be a top 50 pick when we get to April. Will he be a first rounder? I don't know. But if he doesn't go on night 1, I think we'll go pretty early on night 2. Matthew Golden, a lock. Another day 2 guy. What a year he had. What a finish to the year he had. Quinn Ewers, lock. I think another day 2 guy. Maybe he falls to early day 3. Quinn Ewers is going to get drafted. Isaiah Bond, kind of in a similar category to Quinn Ewers, could be a day 2 pick. That speed is going to play. If Isaiah Bond has a great combine, which I think he could, as long as that ankle's 100%, then he could sneak into day 2. He's definitely going to get drafted. Andrew Makuba, Same conversation. Could be a day 2 pick. If he doesn't go on Friday, he'll go early on Saturday. Gunnar Helm, another lock. Alfred Collins, another lock. Vernon Broughton, another lock. That's 10 right there, guys and gals. That is 10 true locks. There's a 100% chance that these guys will be selected at some point in the 2025 NFL draft. Now, left out a few names. So let's go to category number 2, the very close to lock category. Again, these are guys that I think have a 90+% chance to get picked at some point. Jaden Blue's on that list. Now, some of y'all might be shaking your head and you're saying, well, Jaden Blue's definitely locked. I'd be very, very surprised if Jaden Blue doesn't get picked up by anybody. Speaking of speed, speaking of the combine, I think Jaden Blue's going to turn some heads with what he does in Indianapolis. I believe he was one of the fastest players in college football this past season. Didn't quite have the year we as Texas fans were hoping he would have. Obviously, the fumbling issues, and that's why he's not 100% to me. The fumbling problems are just that. They're a problem. I mean, Jaden Blue, during his Texas career, fumbled on an average of every 32 to 33 touches. You know, NFL running backs are like 160 to 180 touches per fumble. So Jaden Blue's got to clean up that fumbleitis, but there's so much talent there. There's so much potential there. There are going to be multiple teams that fall in love with Jaden Blue. So some people think maybe he should be a lock. The talent tells me he's a lock, but the fumbling issues and the lack of playing time in college, he was never like the true number one during his time at Texas. That has him in this category for me. Barron Sorrell's another guy I would put in this category. I fully expect Barron Sorrell to get drafted. 6'4", 260, kind of that stereotypical, prototypical edge size in today's NFL. 6 sacks this season, I think 4 the year before, 5.5 the year before that. So a 3-year contributor here in Austin, put up big numbers, pretty good against the run as well. I'd be pretty shocked if he doesn't get picked at some point in the draft. And then Jake Majors and Hayden Connor, 2 of the offensive linemen. I think both of those dudes will be picked. I mean, Jake Majors set a school record for the most starts by any offensive lineman in program history, 4-year starter at Texas. You don't start for 4 years at a place like Texas unless you can play. Now, a little undersized, doesn't have the arm length that, teams look for at the top of the draft. So I don't think Jake Majors is going to go at the top of the draft, but I think somebody will end up picking him. Same thing with Hayden Connor, like 3+ year starter at Texas, very solid on the left side of the Longhorns offensive line. Not the most prototypical size or athleticism, but a guy who's big enough and athletic enough, I think, to get picked somewhere on day 3. So that's 4 right there. So we're at 10 locks. We're at 4 very close to locks. So that's 14. That right there would have Texas tying the 2-year record set by Georgia. Remember, Texas had 11 players drafted last year, so 14 this year would be 25. That's the current record. So now for Texas to break that record, they're going to have at least one person in the last category have their name called by Roger Goodell or some former player or some zoo animal or whoever the hell they have making the picks on day 3. The NFL always goes so off the wall with some of those. Sometimes it's hilarious. Sometimes you get people saying Samaje Perine instead of Samaje Perine. Alas, we move on. The borderline guys for Texas. There are 7 in this category for me. And we still haven't heard anything official from Trey Moore. I think the deadline was yesterday. Maybe he can still put his name in today. Hell, maybe he already did, but didn't announce anything on social media. In today's internet world, I have a hard time believing that we wouldn't know if Trey Moore had put his name in the draft, but he could be another guy who gets drafted by Texas if he decides to leave. I hope he doesn't. But here are the borderline guys that I've got right now. Silas Bolden, Bill Norton, Gavin Holmes, David Benda, Juan Davis, Jermaine Lole, and Mo Blackwell Jr. Now, Texas gets all of those guys picked. That's 21 players right there. You're talking about shattering the current mark, and you're talking about maybe doing something that will never get touched again. Now, I don't think Texas is going to get all 7 of those guys picked, but could they get 1 or 2? I think so. I mean, Silas Bolden put up great numbers at Oregon State before coming to Texas. I wish he played more as a receiver at Texas. I was complaining about that all season long. That guy's a playmaker, but look at what he did as a punt returner. I mean, teams draft guys as return men. Oh, look at Keelan Robinson. Keelan Robinson was a 5th-round pick out of Texas a season ago. That guy was the third string running back here, barely got any run on offense, but because he was such a great special teamer and such a great return man, he got drafted in the 5th round. Like, that could be Silas Bolden. I think Silas Bolden was one of the best punt returners in America this year. And I think he could give an NFL team something at wide receiver. Now, he's very undersized, but he's fast. He's shifty. He can make guys miss. He did that in the SEC. He did that in the college football playoff when he got his opportunities. I think he could be a 6th or a 7th round pick. Bill Norton, big interior defensive lineman. I mean, 330, 335. That's what he's listed at. He looks like he's about 350, 360. No offense, Bill. But maybe he's a guy with his run stuffing ability who gets a shot. Gavin Holmes, the number 3 corner on this Texas team, but he's long. He's got some speed. He played okay when he got his opportunities for Texas this year. Not a great tackler, which might scare people away, but I think he's fast enough to get drafted. David Benda, 6-year guy, great story, great leader. Could it happen for him? I don't know. Maybe. Juan Davis, number 2 tight end, good blocker. Would a team spend a draft pick on that? I don't know. Jermaine Lole, another interior defensive lineman. Mo Blackwell, kind of a reserve linebacker. It's going to be tougher for some of those guys towards the end of that list that I just mentioned. But is it out of the question for 1, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 of those players to get picked? I don't think so. So Texas has a really, really good shot of making history this year, guys and gals. And I think Texas is starting to get the benefit of the doubt. Like, for years, NFL teams did not want players from Texas, right? I mean, sure, they had talent out of high school. The Longhorns have always been able to recruit well, but you go from 2010 to 2022 and the dozen years of suck, the 12 years of non-refundable football, whatever the hell you want to call it. And it felt like NFL teams were kind of shying away from Texas because Texas was the place that 5 stars went to die. I mean, Texas was turning 5 stars into 3 stars when guys were in Austin, the end of the Mac Brown era, but really in the Charlie Strong and Tom Herman eras. I mean, I think of some guys who are playing and playing well in the NFL. A guy like Charles Omenihu, that guy was a 5th round pick. Guy's a starter for the Chiefs, Super Bowl champ up there. Chris Boyd was a 7th round pick. Guy's playing for the Texans right now. Kind of a reserve, but on the team. Plays special teams, does some on defense. Poona Ford was an undrafted free agent. That guy's really good. Quandre Diggs, 6th round pick. Deshaun Elliott, 6th round pick. Caden Stearns, 5th round pick. Like, these are guys who play significant roles on NFL teams that whoever drafted them or whoever scooped them in free agency, in Poona Ford's case, they're getting great ROIs on their very small investments that they made. So, Lil Jordan Humphrey, another guy, another UDFA. It's like people were scared to draft players out of Texas because they weren't getting coached up. The coaching here was awful for so long. That's obviously not the case anymore. I mean, just go back to last year's draft. Once again, Texas had 11 players picked. Keelan Robinson, number 3 running back, special teams guy, picked in the 5th round. Hell, Byron Murphy was the highest defensive player Texas has had picked since Kenny Vaccaro back in 2013. Remember T'Vondre Sweat? Everybody thought his draft stock was falling. Oh, he's too fat. Oh, this, that, and the other. Oh, he's got culture, character issues, whatever. Remember all those rumors that came out leading up to the draft? Top 40 pick, just outside of the 1st round. Like, Jordan Whittington got drafted. Ryan Watts got drafted. People want Texas guys now. Hell, NFL teams want to hire Steve Sarkisian. They trust him. They trust his offense. A lot of pro-style elements in that offense. I think they trust Pete Kwiatkowski. Go back to PK's time at Washington. Bunch of good Washington players in the league that were coached by PK in college. I think Texas has earned the benefit of the doubt now with NFL teams. And like Georgia, like Alabama, like Ohio State, like LSU when they're right, if teams have a couple of guys on their board and one of those guys went to Texas and the others didn't, I think Texas guys are going to get the nod. I really do. That's why I think the Longhorns have a really, really good chance to make history when we get to April. Be pretty cool if they did. All right, I want to hear from y'all in the comments below. What say you? Can Texas tie or break either of Georgia's records? Once again, they've got the single-year record, 15 players picked in the 2022 NFL draft. They've got the 2-year record with 25 players selected in the 22 and 23 NFL drafts. Could the Longhorns break either or both of those records? Would love to hear from y'all in the comments below. I don't know why I'm pointing down. You guys know what below means. Sorry about that. Thank you all for watching if you made it this far. Please give the thumbs up if you haven't already. Once again, subscribe to the channel and spread the word about what we've going on here at what we've got going on here on the BK Show. I'm losing the ability to speak. That means it's time to wrap things up. Appreciate the continued love and supports. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. Don't forget, when you watch the BK Show, you rule. See y'all tomorrow. Hook 'em.